Hey, what's going on, everybody? Chris Meaney here of FTN, and here are 5 things to look for during Week 4 of the NFL season. Number 5, how will this Carolina Panthers offense look like without Christian McCaffrey? Last year, we had a solid look of what things would be like without CMC, but it's a new offense. Sam Darnold's under center, and Mike Davis is not around. But last year, Mike Davis acted like Christian McCaffrey. Now, don't get me wrong, he didn't have the same upside, but he got a lot of looks through the air, and he got a lot of usage. Let's see if Chuba Hubbard can put up Mike Davis-like numbers without CMC. Or will Royce Freeman, who is the better pass blocker and has more experience, will this guy be involved? Will it be a 50-50? Will it be a 60-40, 70-30? How is this going to play out? Who's going to be the goal line back? Who's going to be the third down back? Can Chuba Hubbard, who is a rookie, protect Sam Darnold? Last week, I saw enough to assume that Chuba Hubbard would be the guy moving forward as long as CMC is sidelined. Now, he's not placed on IR, but he wasn't last year and he missed a lot of time. So this could be more than a 3-week thing when it comes to CMC being sidelined. Chuba Hubbard, his rushing props at 13.5. I think he gets more than 13 carries. His catch props at 3.5. I think he gets 4 or 5 targets out of the backfield. Last week, he got 5 targets, one of them in the red zone, catch that he probably should have, but he did finish with 3 catches, and he did act as the goal line back inside this offense. I have him ranked as a top 24 running back, an RB2. But I think Royce Freeman should be on rosters as well, especially in deep leagues. You don't know, and I think we'll get a true test here against a much improved Dallas defense. Also, something to keep an eye on inside this offense, Robbie Anderson. You can't start this guy, but can you roster him? Can he even be on your bench? Last week, 2 targets, 1 drop. Not a factor. Week in and week out, we're starting to see Terrace Marshall, a rookie wide receiver. Joe Brady, obviously very comfortable with this guy and what he can do. They drafted him. He coached him at LSU. He knows what he can do, and the gap is closing. The gap in terms of snaps, routes run, and targets, it's closing. Is Robbie Anderson going to be a factor? Is he going to be a player that we can trust in our lineups? I think we know the answer is no, but this is a big week for him, despite a bottom 10 matchup according to our wide receiver cornerback matchup tool. So this is not a good spot. Let's see if he'll get a few more targets without CMC in the lineup. And also, finally, before we kind of wrap up Carolina here, also a much improved defense. They're number 1 in pass DVOA and rush DVOA, according to Football Outsiders. Now, they haven't played a lot of good teams. This is a true test for a defense that leads the NFL with 14 sacks. Let's see what the Panthers can do against a high-powered offense in the Dallas Cowboys. Number 4, let's take a look at some of these backfields. Let's have an eye on them. First of all, let's start with Miles Sanders, right? Let's see if he can get more than 2 carries. Kansas City has been run on all year. They're dead last in pass DVOA and rush DVOA, according to Football Outsiders. They've allowed the second most yards per carry and the most rushing yards, a ton of fantasy points to running backs. Miles Sanders had 2 carries last week, 2. 1 for 24 yards. Let's see if they try to establish the run. Last week, Nick Sirianni said they were just down before really they could get going on offense, and they had to play catch-up. Don't you think that's going to be the case this week against the Chiefs, who come in as 7-point favorites? I think so. So we'll see if the Eagles abandon the run and if it's just a heavy dosage of Jalen Hurts, or if they'll try to establish the run a little bit with Miles Sanders and try to exploit some holes that other teams have been able to take advantage of when they play the Chiefs. There's other backfields I want to have my eye on. Denver Broncos against Baltimore. Both of these teams, actually. This is going to be a true test for Denver. They've had a lot of cake matchups, and Javonte Williams has gotten a lot of play in garbage time. With the game on the line in a 1-score game, who's going to be the back that the Broncos trust? I think it's going to be Melvin Gordon, but let's see how this plays out. And also Baltimore. Last week, it was Tyson Williams, who had 50.9% of the running back snaps, which led the way, but it was Latavius Murray who acted as the primary back. Let's see if it's still going to be an absolute headache, or if, what I've noticed in close games, it's Latavius Murray on the field. This will be another test, and then this will be it for me with Tyson Williams. I don't think he's worthy of being dropped, but he's certainly not worthy of a starting spot in your lineup. But if this is another 1-score game where the Ravens have to protect Lamar Jackson and they don't trust Tyson Williams by showing me they have Latavius Murray on the field, then that will be it for me and Tyson Williams. Also, I want to see if Michael Carter can continue to get more snaps, more usage, run more routes. He's really starting to take away from Ty Johnson. You can't trust this guy, but I think he's a decent stash. We'll see how this backfield plays out. And in New England, Damien Harris last week was non-factor. He was a non-factor. They started last week against the Saints 3-and-out, 3-and-out, 3-and-out. They had to play from behind. Even when James White left, who's done for the season, it wasn't Damien Harris. It was Brendan Bolden on the field getting targets. Even when they were down 2 scores with about 8 minutes left, it was Brendan Bolden getting red zone looks. 2 straight red zone carries for -1 yard. Let's see if if Damien Harris is going to actually be just game scripted, they're going to be down in this game against the Bucs. There's no question. That's another thing to look for this week. Can Tom Brady go in and torch up Bill Belichick? I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fantastic. He's going to shatter the all-time passing record. He's only 68 yards behind Drew Brees. But the crazier story would be is if Bill Belichick's defense can step up and create 2 or 3 turnovers, a couple picks, and find a way to win this game. If that was the case, Damien Harris would be involved in the offense. How many times can we look ahead and say, oh yeah, this is a game where the Pats are going to win. We're going to see double-digit carries for Damien Harris. I thought every week he'd get double-digit carries. Last week, he was game scripted. Let's see if that's going to continue. In a game, most likely, the Pats are going to have to play from behind. And also, one more final one for you is the Arizona backfield. I think this will be a high-flying game, shootout game. I don't think that Arizona will have a lot of success running the football with Connor. I want to see if Connor kind of gets the Damien Harris treatment, if it will be Chase Edmonds catching balls out of the backfield, because that's kind of the way you attack LA. They have really strong corners. They take away the wide receivers. Last week, when they played from behind, Tampa that is, it was a heavy dosage of Giovanni Bernard catching balls out of the backfield. I think we could see that with Chase Edmonds, and that will, I mean, there's not going to be too many games where we're like, yeah, Arizona's going to be playing from behind, but we'll get a good feel of this backfield and what it's going to be like against a very solid team that's going to be able to go toe-to-toe with the Cardinals. Number 3, I'm looking at guys that step up that haven't stepped up. I could have saved Robbie Anderson for this, but I'm looking at Kyle Pitts. I'm looking at Calvin Ridley. This is a good spot for the Falcons. The Washington football team has allowed the most fantasy points to quarterbacks and the second most fantasy points to wide receivers. The Falcons drafted Kyle Pitts very early when they had a lot of holes on their offensive line, a lot of holes defensively. There's a lot of different things that they could have done here. They could have drafted a quarterback. They could have looked to the future. They drafted Kyle Pitts. And one of the things everybody talked about in the offseason and why Kyle Pitts would be a fantastic draft as the 4th tight end, take him in the 4th round. Don't worry about rookie tight ends not doing anything. He's not a rookie tight end. He lines up wide, a mismatch all over the field. Maybe lining up wide against top corners isn't the way to use Kyle Pitts. Maybe not right now. Maybe you need to keep things simple. You know where you can get a mismatch on the field with Kyle Pitts? By playing him as a tight end in the slot against linebackers. Guys, find a way to make this guy productive. He can't go 3.5 quarters without getting a target. There's no excuse. Maybe the offense is so bad because they're throwing the football to Cordero Patterson. It's a great story. Sure. But throw the football to Kyle Pitts and Calvin Ridley. This is it. These two need to show up, or we need to start worrying about the Atlanta Falcons. Also, guys that need to show up. Kenny Golladay. There's no Sterling Shepard. There's no Darius Slayton. Let's see Kenny Golladay have a week here. I don't care that he's up against Marshawn Lattimore. Lattimore is not even that great of a corner. Like, he needs to be worthy of the contract that he got. Let's see Kenny Golladay this week. Let's also see who the number 2 inside this offense is. I don't think it's going to be Evan Ingram. You can stop right now ranking Evan Ingram as a top 15 tight end. No chance. Who's going to be the other guys? Is it going to be Colin Johnson, who had a bunch of targets last week, filling that Darius Slayton role? Is it going to be Kadarius Toney in the slot, filling the Sterling Shepard role? They spent a high pick on Kadarius Toney. How involved will he be this week? Can Evan Ingram show us something? The money all spent on Kenny Golladay, can he show us something? There's a few players here that need to show me a little something. And I suppose Tyreek Hill may be one of those as well, but I think he definitely does show me something. But the past 2 weeks, opposing defense, they've taken away Tyreek Hill. I don't think the Eagles have the personnel in the secondary to do that. Let's see if Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid find a way to get their top playmaker, no disrespect to Travis Kelce, more involved in the game plan. Number 2, are the Raiders legit? That's right. That's what I'm looking for. Are the Raiders legit? I think we're going to find out. I really do this week. Monday Night Football against the Chargers. If they win, they are 4-0. 4-0. They're already the first team in NFL history to go 3-0, starting against 3 teams with 10 wins from the previous season. Yeah, that's right. They beat good teams. They beat the Baltimore Ravens, they beat Miami, and they went into Pittsburgh and beat the Steelers. Now they have a good test, and if they beat the Chargers, I think we have to say that they're legit, don't we? Don't we? I mean, the Chargers just beat the Chiefs. And last year, the Raiders beat the Chiefs. They almost beat them twice. Let's see if the Raiders will go back to the run game, because you can run all over the Chargers. Teams have run all over them this year. You can run on them. Let's see, with Josh Jacobs expected back, if they're going to run the football against the Chargers, or if they're going to continue to let Derek Carr just sling it, because that's what we've seen so far. Derek Carr leads the NFL in passing yards, and he's second in passing attempts. He is throwing the ball down the field. Let's see how good these Las Vegas Raiders actually are. And number one, the number one thing I'm looking for this week, the number one thing I learned last week was that Matt Nagy was incapable of playing to Justin Fields' strength. It sounds like Justin Fields is starting again this week, and it is going to be in a much better matchup against the Detroit Lions. Let's just see if Matt Nagy can adjust. I mean, the dude only had months to prepare a game plan for Justin Fields when they drafted him, and they threw an Andy Dalton game plan. The guy got sacked 9 times. Listen to some of these statistics. 31 dropbacks, 21 of the 30 5-man protection, 5-man protection, no help. 13 of the 20 passes, 5-man protection in 13 of the 20 passes. No help again, setting this guy up to fail. 2 quarterback design runs for a guy who had a rushing prop at nearly 60. Nobody going in motion. Like no end arounds, no bootlegs, no movement. What? Like, let's see if Matt Nagy can play to Justin Fields' strengths. If that means giving up the playbook, then so be it. Give it up. Like your job is on the line here. Like you got to put him in a situation to succeed. So that is going to be the biggest thing I look for this week. Are the Bears going to be able to make some adjustments? How are they going to put Justin Fields in a position to be successful? Will Allen Robinson be a part of this offense? Will everybody's sleeper, Darnell Mooney, be a part of this offense? Let's see it. There's no excuse. This is a good matchup against the Detroit Lions. You have another week to prepare in case you were slacking in the offseason for preparing for the guy that you moved up to get in Justin Fields. Use him properly. If there's a couple things that you're looking for, I'd love to hear them. Leave a comment in the YouTube section. Hit me up at Chris Meaney. We'll be back on Tuesday to talk about 5 things we learned from week 4. And I'll tell you what, one of them better be that Matt Nagy is able to make adjustments. Clearly, I am rattled. I'm out. Enjoy week 4. Talk to you soon. Cheers.